My husband threw a cup of scalding tea in my face because I finally said no to paying for his mother's Europe vacation. 11 years of marriage, and that was the first time I'd ever told either of them no. That night, I packed one bag and walked out of the apartment we'd shared for 6 years. 4 years of bank statements were open on that laptop screen, and none of the transfers were mine. I didn't know yet how much that cup of tea was going to cost the two of them. Before any of it started, our finances looked like any young couples trying to get ahead. One joint account, one spreadsheet, 6 years of quiet Sunday night saving toward a down payment on our first real house. We'd drive past listings on weekends we couldn't quite afford yet, just to picture ourselves inside them. "We're actually going to hit 60,000 by spring, Eileen," Warren said, sliding the laptop across the table toward me. I remember feeling proud of that number. I had no idea how much of it wasn't going to stay ours. In public, Denise Winters was everyone's favorite mother-in-law. She brought casseroles to sick neighbors and organized the block's holiday drive every December. At home, she was a different woman entirely. A new washer, a hip surgery copay, $400 for a fence Warren never even used. Every one of them came out of our account before I heard a single word about it. He'd already written the check for the fence by the time I found the invoice folded up in his coat pocket. "She's my mother," Warren said, every time I brought it up. "It's not that much. We'll make it work." I told myself that was just how families worked. I told myself that for 6 years. Somewhere in those 6 years, I stopped keeping a running total. I'm not sure I ever wanted to know the real number. Then one Saturday morning, Denise showed up at our door with a suitcase already packed and rolled it straight into our kitchen like she already lived there. "Paris first," she said, beaming. "Then Rome. 4 countries, 3 weeks. I've already picked the hotels. Warren told me he'd cover the whole thing." My stomach dropped before I'd even done the math. And what she found in that account changed everything. Hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the ending, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Later that night, I did it anyway. Business class for 2, 3 weeks, 4-star hotels. The trip alone would run close to $9,000, nearly a sixth of everything we'd saved for our own home. I looked at my husband. "You didn't ask me." He wouldn't meet my eyes. "It's not a big deal, Eileen. We can figure it out." "It's a family trip, dear," Denise said, patting the handle of her suitcase. "You'll thank us later." A multi-week trip through 3 countries, business class, is not a big deal, I said. And it is definitely not something you get to decide alone. "We're married," Warren said, his voice sharper than I'd ever heard it. "It's our money." "Exactly," I said. "Our money, which means I get a say in it, and I'm not spending it on a vacation I never agreed to." "I raised that boy alone," Denise said, turning on me. "The least he can do is take care of me now." "After everything I've done for this family," she added, quieter, to no one in particular. Warren's jaw tightened. He didn't defend me. He didn't even look at me. He looked at his mother. She looked back at him. Neither of them said a word out loud, but something passed between them anyway, an understanding I wasn't part of. It lasted maybe 3 seconds, long enough for me to see exactly where I stood in my own kitchen. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just stood there in my own kitchen, and watched the two of them look at each other like I wasn't in the room. That was the moment I finally understood something I'd been refusing to see for 6 years. I wasn't really part of this family. I was just the person standing between a mother and her son. Denise finally broke the silence. "So it's settled then," she said, already reaching for her suitcase handle again, like the conversation was over because she'd decided it was. Warren still hadn't said one word in my defense. Not one. Denise had come back the next afternoon to talk it through, she said. It didn't take 5 minutes to turn back into the same argument. "You're really going to embarrass me in front of my own mother?" Warren said, his voice climbing. "I'm not embarrassing anyone," I said. "I'm answering a question you asked me 12 hours ago. It's 4 countries, Eileen. 4. I already told the airline we're confirmed." "Then unconfirm it," I said. "You booked it without me. That's not my problem to fix." Warren lowered his voice and glanced sideways at Denise, still sitting at the table. "You really want to do this in front of her?" I didn't blink. "I'm saying no." Denise picked up her cup and took a slow sip, like the whole argument was beneath her. "It's fine, sweetheart," she said to Warren, not looking at me. "She'll come around." "I'm not coming around," I said. "I'm standing right here." Warren's voice dropped even further, almost a warning of its own. "You have no idea what happens if she doesn't go." "Then tell me," I said. "What exactly is going to happen?" He didn't answer. He just looked at his mother again, the same look I'd seen pass between them before. Denise set her cup down without a sound and folded her hands on the table, waiting to see what he'd do. Nobody said anything for 3 full seconds. Then Warren's hand closed around his own cup on the table. He threw it before I even saw his arm move. The porcelain hit the floor before the tea even finished landing on my face. I grabbed the counter behind me with both hands, tea running down my collar, my ears ringing from the shock more than the heat. "Look what you made him do," Denise said, not moving from her chair, not even setting down her cup. Warren didn't apologize. He just stood there with his empty hand still raised, staring at me like I was the one who'd done something wrong. "It's just tea," he said finally, like the word "just" would put it back in the cup. "It's not like I hit you." Nobody in that kitchen asked if I was hurt. Not him, not her. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything back. I reached for a dish towel on the counter and wiped my own face, while they both just watched me do it. Standing there dripping, I saw the two of them clearly for the first time, not as my husband and his mother, but as one single unit. And I was standing outside of it, in my own kitchen, holding a wet towel. I went upstairs, changed my shirt, and started packing without saying another word. Warren followed me as far as the bedroom doorway. "Don't make this bigger than it is." "You threw boiling tea in my face," I said, folding a sweater into the bag. "You pushed me into it," he said. "You know how she gets when she's upset." 11 years, Warren, I said. 11 years, and you're still explaining her instead of yourself. He didn't try to answer that. He just circled back to the line he already had. "It's not like I planned it." I zipped the bag shut. "So it's my fault you threw a cup of tea at me?" "Because you pushed me too far," he said, like that answered anything at all. That was the sentence that actually ended our marriage. Not the tea. That sentence. I carried that one bag down the same stairs I'd climbed 1,000 times. And this time, I didn't look back. Warren stood at the window and watched me go. He didn't come after me. "She'll cool off," I heard him tell his mother through the screen door as I reached the car. "She always does." He had no idea I wasn't planning on cooling off at all. I sat in the driver's seat for a long moment before I turned the key. My phone sat in the cup holder. I didn't call anyone. I just started the car and drove. No plan yet. No hotel booked. Just one clear line I wasn't crossing back over. I wasn't spending another night under that roof. 3 evenings later, I went back for my things, timing it for when Warren was usually still at the gym. The apartment was quiet. A single light was on over the stove, the same as every night for 6 years. The laptop was still sitting open on the counter, screen glowing, still logged into our bank. I told myself I was only going to pack a box. I sat down at the counter instead. I started scrolling, and the first strange transfer I found was dated 4 years back, long before any Europe trip existed. $200, then $300, then a jump to $2,200 the month his mother's roof got redone. Then another jump, $4,100, marked only family. No note, no question asked, apparently, by either of them. By the time I stopped counting, there were 19 separate transfers to the same account. 2 of them were past $6,000 each. I added them up twice because the total came to just over $51,000, and that seemed too large to be real. He came home 20 minutes later and stopped dead in the doorway when he saw what was spread across the table. I'd printed every page at the library on the way over. 19 transfers, laid out in order, right where he used to sit for dinner. "That's not what it looks like," he said, before I'd even asked a question. "Then tell me what it looks like," I said, sliding the top page toward him. "Walk me through this one. March, $2,200. He picked up the page, put it back down, picked up another one. He couldn't get through a single explanation without stopping. "Some of this is old," he said. "Some of it's just family stuff. You know how it is with her." $51,000 of family stuff, I said, averaging close to $13,000 a year, all of it going straight to your mother, and none of it ever came up once. "It's not like I was hiding it," he said. "You never once mentioned it," I said. "That's exactly what hiding it means." "What was I supposed to do?" he said. "Sit you down every time she needed something and ask permission?" "You didn't need my permission," I said. "You needed to tell me the truth. There's a difference." Then I found the page that mattered, a different account from all the others, opened under his name alone only 3 months earlier. Nothing like the years of small family transfers. This one was new. $11,000 had already moved into it, straight out of our joint savings, our down payment. The same money we'd spent 6 years building toward a house with. "What is this account, Warren?" I asked, tapping the page. "And what was the Europe trip actually paying for?" He went very still. That was the first question all night he didn't have a quick answer ready for. He didn't answer right away. He looked at the page, then at me, then back at the page. "It wasn't just the trip," he said, finally. "There was more we were planning to do for her. I was going to tell you once it was further along." "More," I repeated. "There's more, and you were going to tell me once it was further along." He didn't say another word. He didn't have to. His silence answered the question better than he ever could have. I didn't ask him anything else. I gathered every page back into order and walked out with the folder under my arm. He called my name once from the doorway. I didn't turn around. My phone buzzed twice on the passenger seat before I even started the engine. 2 texts from Denise, back to back. The first said, "Are you happy now?" The second said, "He only did it for you too, you know." I turned the phone face down on top of the folder and looked up a number instead. I sat in the car outside for exactly as long as it took to find one. "I need to speak with a divorce attorney," I said, "as soon as possible. I have paperwork." 2 days later, I sat across from William Garrison, my new divorce attorney, and slid the folder across his desk. 2 days after that, I sat across from William Garrison, my new divorce attorney, and slid the folder across his desk. He read every page twice before he said a word, making small marks in the margins with a pencil. "The $11,000 you already found in this account," he said, tapping the second one, "isn't the whole picture. There's a second withdrawal here, 18,000 more, dated 3 weeks ago, the same week as a property listing search under his mother's name. 29,000 total," I said, "out of an account with both our names on it." "Both your names," Garrison said, "which is exactly why it matters." "Another property?" I said. "We don't even have our first one yet. That savings account was supposed to be our down payment." "Exactly," Garrison said. "Whatever this was funding, it wasn't a 2-week vacation. I'd like to file before any more of it moves." I told him to file that same afternoon. I wasn't interested in giving anyone more time to explain it away. I went back one more time and put the listing on the table between us. A single-family house, 3 bedrooms, 20 minutes from his mother's, listed 6 weeks earlier. "You weren't only paying for a trip," I said. "You were going to buy her a house with our savings." He didn't deny it this time. He just sat down across from me like the weight of it had finally caught up to him. "It wasn't going to be all at once," he said. "I was going to move it over slowly so it wouldn't look like anything." "It's a $140,000 house, Warren," I said. "There's no slow way to move that much money without me noticing eventually." "I know how it looks," he said. "It doesn't just look like something," I said. "It is something." "My dad left when I was 7, he said. "Walked out one morning and never called again. She raised me by herself after that." "That doesn't mean you owe her our house," I said. "Every job, every double shift, every year she didn't remarry because she said a stepfather might not treat me right. She reminded me of all of it, my whole life. Everything I sacrificed for you means you owe me." "That doesn't mean you owe her our house," I said again. "I don't see it as owing her," he said. "I see myself as a good son. That's all I've ever been trying to be." He didn't say it like a confession. He said it like a man who still, after everything, believed he was doing the right thing. The next afternoon, I drove to Denise's house myself. No suitcase, no Warren, just me on her porch. She opened the door, surprised to see me alone. "If you're here to yell at me, I'm here to ask you one question," I said. "Why do you need this money at all?" "Your house is paid off," I said. "You have investments. Warren had your accountant's statements filed away with his own. I found them going through his desk this week. A retirement account with 6 figures in it." She crossed her arms in the doorway. "That money is for my retirement. It's not sitting there for anyone to spend." "Then where did you think Warren's money was supposed to come from?" I asked. because it was never sitting there for anyone to spend either. She didn't rush to answer that. She just moved on to the question I'd actually asked. "It's not about need," she said, her voice going cold. "He's my son. What's his has always been mine to ask for." "You'll never understand family loyalty," she said. "You married in. You don't know what it means to raise a child alone, with nothing." "I understand it perfectly," I said. "That's exactly why I'm leaving. In this family, loyalty only ever ran one direction, and it was never toward me." She had nothing left to say to that. She just shut the door without saying goodbye. Warren found me in a motel parking lot 4 days later, holding 2 coffees, like that would fix something. "Can we talk?" he said. "Just 5 minutes." I didn't say yes. I didn't walk away either, so he took that as a yes. "I've been a wreck," he said. "I haven't slept right since you left." "I shouldn't have thrown the tea," he said. Then, in the same breath, "But you shouldn't have humiliated my mother like that either, in front of everyone." "There was no one else in that kitchen, Warren," I said. "There was you, me, and her. That's not everyone." "You know what I mean," he said. "I don't, actually," I said. "Say what you mean." I looked at the coffee he was holding out to me and didn't take it. "The tea didn't end our marriage," I told him. "It just showed me what our marriage already was." "So that's it?" he said. 11 years? Over one bad afternoon? "It wasn't one afternoon," I said. "It was every afternoon before it, and you know that better than I do." He stood there holding 2 coffees in an empty parking lot, waiting for me to say something else. I didn't. I got in my car. I filed 3 days later. Garrison had the petition ready before I'd even finished asking for it. Warren called that same afternoon, stunned. "Wait, you're actually doing this? I thought we were going to talk it out." "We talked in a parking lot," I said. This is me answering. "So 11 years just ends over paperwork," he said. 11 years ended in our kitchen, I said. "The paperwork is just the part where somebody writes it down." He tried calling twice more that week. I let both go to voicemail. The settlement meeting happened 3 weeks later in a courthouse conference room with too many chairs and not enough air. Warren sat beside his own attorney, in a suit I'd bought him for our anniversary 2 years earlier. Denise sat 1 chair down from him, arms crossed, saying nothing yet. Warren's attorney opened with the argument I'd expected, that the money given to his mother was a personal gift from Warren's own income, separate property, no different from a birthday check, and had nothing to do with what the divorce could touch. Garrison didn't argue back with words. He set the joint account statements on the table, one by one, every transfer date circled in red, until there were 19 sheets of paper between us. "Every one of these came out of an account with both their names on it," Garrison said. "This isn't a personal gift history. It's a joint asset that left the marriage without her consent." Warren's attorney tried once more. "My client's mother is not a party to this divorce." "She's about to be a witness to it," Garrison said, and turned to look directly at Denise for the first time. Then Garrison turned to Denise directly, for the first time all afternoon. "You received these transfers, personally, over a period of 4 years. Can you confirm the total amount, for the record?" Her composure cracked, just slightly, for the first time since I'd known her. She looked at Warren before she answered, and he had nothing to give her back. "I don't keep track of exact numbers," she said. "That's not how family works." "It's exactly how a court works, though," Garrison said. so we'll do it for you." He started reading the total out loud, transfer by transfer, dollar amount by dollar amount, until the number filled the whole room, and nobody at that table said a word. Warren turned to his mother, waiting for her to say something, anything, in his defense. She didn't. The room went quiet enough to hear the air conditioning hum. Garrison just kept his pen moving, writing down the silence like it was testimony too. Instead, she turned on him. "You promised me that money," she said, jabbing a finger at his chest. "You told me it was already handled, that there was nothing to worry about." "Mom," he said, and it came out smaller than I'd ever heard his voice. "Can we talk about this later?" "Later?" she snapped. "There's a judge writing a number down right now that comes out of my house." "It's not your house," Garrison said, without looking up from his notes. "It's a marital asset, presently." Denise ignored him completely. Her whole attention stayed fixed on her son. Not one word from either of them about the marriage he was losing in that same room. For the first time, I watched him actually hear it. The pattern of his entire life, spoken out loud, in front of both of us at once. "My whole life," he said quietly. "Every job, every double shift I picked up, trying to make you proud of me. And the one day I actually need you to be my mother," he said, "you're asking what happened to the money." "Don't put this on me," Denise said. "I didn't tell you to move that money out of a joint account. That part was all you." He looked at her like she'd slapped him. Nobody else in the room moved. Denise didn't say anything else. She just looked down at the folder in front of her and said nothing at all. I sat there and watched 11 years finish falling apart in about 90 seconds, and I didn't feel the urge to say a single word. Nobody in that room ever agreed to anything. The meeting broke down within the hour, and Garrison told me on the way out that it was headed to a judge now, not a handshake. The judge's ruling came 6 weeks later. $51,000, traced dollar for dollar out of a joint account over 4 years. The court ordered Denise to account for her share of it, repaid or offset against the settlement, since it was never solely her son's money to give away. It also voided the down payment Warren had already wired toward another property and ordered the deposit returned to the marital estate within 30 days. It was in writing now, with a judge's signature under it. Nobody at that kitchen table could call it family stuff anymore. Out in the hallway, the two of them were still going at each other, their voices bouncing off the marble. $51,000, I heard her say behind me. "Do you have any idea what that does to me?" "You want to talk about what it did to you?" Warren said, his voice cracking for the first time all day. "I lost my marriage over this." "You lost your marriage the day you threw a cup at her," Denise said. "Don't put that on me." I didn't hear what came after that. I was already at the elevator. The win was never going to be watching them tear into each other in a hallway. It was that I was already done caring which one of them came out ahead. I moved into a one-bedroom apartment across town within the month. No one to consult, no mother-in-law to answer to. The first night there, I unpacked exactly the things I wanted, in exactly the order I wanted, and nobody said a single word about any of it. I painted the bathroom a color Warren would have called too much. I liked it. I kept it. I picked the couch by myself, ate dinner standing at the counter twice a week if I felt like it, and answered to no one about any of it. Nobody called to check if I'd calmed down yet. This time, nobody was waiting for me to come back. I opened a new savings account with my name on it. Just mine. No one else's signature required. No one else's mother with a claim on it. Every month, I put something into it. Small at first. Then, not so small. The returned deposit from Warren's canceled property deal landed in my half of the settlement 3 months after the ruling. I put every dollar of it straight into that account. A year in, the balance passed the number Warren and I had once been saving toward together. This time, nobody was planning to spend it on someone else's vacation. 8 months after the divorce was final, I closed on a house of my own. Small. 2 bedrooms, a yard just big enough for a garden. My name was the only one on the deed. Nobody else's mother had ever set foot in it. I stood in the empty kitchen holding the key, and for a second, all I could see was the other kitchen, the one with the round table, the one where all of this started. This one didn't have a table in it yet. That was exactly the point. Months later, a photo showed up in my feed. Denise, in front of the Eiffel Tower, smiling for the camera like none of it had ever happened. The trip happened, but after the settlement, she'd had to cover almost all of it herself. I looked at the photo for exactly as long as it took to notice I didn't feel anything sharp about it anymore. Then I closed the app. Somewhere in the caption, she'd written about how blessed she felt. I wondered if the credit card statement felt the same way. That evening, I filled the kettle in my own kitchen and made myself a cup of tea, the way I had 1,000 times before all of this. I sat down at the small table I'd finally bought, in a kitchen with nobody else's name on the deed, and looked at the cup for a long moment before I picked it up. For a second, nothing bad happened. It was just tea. I thought that cup of tea was the worst thing he ever did to me. I was wrong. The worst thing he did was spend years teaching me that loving him meant saying yes. The best thing he did was finally give me a reason to say no. Stories like this one tend to leave you with a few quiet truths. That the people who ask you to keep the peace are rarely the ones paying for it. That a joint account is only as honest as the person who has the password. And that the no you're afraid to say out loud is usually the one that finally tells you who's really in the room with you. Have you ever kept the peace for years, only to realize it was never really yours to keep? If you enjoyed this story, hit like and subscribe. And we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments.